Hello and welcome. Today's episode, we're going to talk about 5 of the biggest mistakes that you can make if your business is ever sued. Now, I don't want you to be scared. The whole point of me bringing these up is so that you can prevent them and prepare for them, because there's nothing worse than having your business derailed unnecessarily if you could have prepared for it. I'm a big believer in preparing for things rather than letting things happen. So if you're new here, my name is Taylor Darcy from Think Legal, where I help you create the business of your dreams. So welcome. Grateful that you're here. Number 1, if you are trying to represent yourself, which is also called pro se or pro per, depending on the jurisdiction. Now, this is a problem for a couple of reasons. Number 1, as a business, if you're a business entity like an LLC or a corporation, you can't represent yourself because you are not an attorney. You can only represent yourself if you are a sole proprietor. And so you have to hire an attorney to represent yourself in that instance. But aside from representing yourself as a corporation or a sole proprietor or as a LLC, that you can't do that. You can't practice law without a license. And because it's a business entity, it can't physically represent itself. Okay, so you have to hire an attorney if you're a business in that respect. As a sole proprietor, you can represent yourself, but you really shouldn't, because, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, because you don't know what you don't know, and it can have drastic consequences, as it can hurt you a lot if you decide to represent yourself, because you're essentially taking a knife to a gunfight. Worst possible scenario that you want to have. The next thing is you're going to want to invest in legal counsel. And what do I mean by that? Typically, legal counsel, although costly, is going to get you a better result than you're going to get by yourself. And part of that is, and I tell this to all my business clients, students, so on and so forth, I tell them that your best course of action is to make sure that you're saving part of your budget each month for each sale that you make. Put 10 cents aside, 20 cents aside, something of that nature, to create a budget for legal expenses. Because whether it's getting contracts drafted, doing operating agreement, whatever it is, you're going to want to have that as part of your budget, as part of your expense, so that it's not a surprise if something comes up. And then if you don't need that for those reasons, then you have it for in case you are ever sued. And so you really want to create a proactive approach to being involved with business as opposed to a passive approach. A lot of entrepreneurs I know end up forgetting or not saving, and then they end up scrambling when they get sued or when something bad happens, and it ends up costing them way more money, or it's a lot harder to come up with the money because they chose to wait and not purchase the money that way. The next thing that I see mistake-wise is that people fail to save key documents or any documents at all. A lot of people just keep things shredded. So keeping things on the down low are not enough. And so you really want to, with each client interaction or client, you're going to want to keep key documents or all of your documents. All is better than just key. Key is obviously your bare minimum, but if you can somehow create a scenario where you're keeping all of your documents to prevent from any type of, it's a lot easier to argue when you have all of the facts that outlay everything than it is if you forget to or delete them or don't share them, don't scan them, whatever, preserve them. You want to preserve your documents. You want to keep good records. I prefer scanning them to make sure that I don't lose them and I don't have to keep huge amounts of files. It's easier, and I keep all my clients' information that way, no matter who they are, so that it's easy to get to and I can share accordingly. So I highly recommend that you keep everything, every interaction that you have, email, text, video conference, phone call, anything that you can do. Now make sure you have permission to save things if it's in that respect. So if it's especially a phone call, that's the next important thing. The next big mistake that I see constantly is that when people, especially business owners, dig in and they would rather spend money on litigation rather than spending the money on settling simply because of their pride. Now, I'm not judging. I'm just simply saying that your pride can cost you a lot of money. If you're okay with that, then by all means, I'm not going to judge you. It is your choice to save that money for people because of that reason. If you want to spend the money, then by all means. But just keep in mind that saving that money that way, or spending that money that way, I should say, is going to be more expensive. So if your pride is worth it to you, I absolutely, I'm not going to tell you to spend your money, but just be prepared for that. But that's a mistake, because if you're too dug in, you could have saved a lot of money that way. The last and probably most important thing that I see happening is that that people wait, or especially businesses wait too long to consult an attorney. They're afraid. They got a summons a complaint and they put it off, even though there's a time period on there, even though there's a big, huge disclaimer on the summons part that says that the case can be decided without you. People are scared and they make bad choices in that instance. So they put it off and they don't consult legal counsel right away. There's a lot that can happen if every party comes together and discusses legal what can happen if you consult an attorney right away. If you wait till the last minute, it's going to cost you money. It's going to be more expensive, because an attorney is going to have to work extra time and are probably going to charge you extra money in order to get it done for you. So just keep that in mind, that it's not always about time is on your side. If you can do something to prevent a lawsuit, that's even better. Again, everything is based on, how much is it worth to you? What's your pride worth to you? So keep that in mind, that waiting too long can be just as detrimental as anything, because an attorney, once they pick it up, will make sure that they're meeting all of the dates and times and places and hearings and so on and so forth to make sure that you're well represented. So you want to keep that in mind, that why should you worry about these things if you don't have to? Those are the big 5, but I also wanted to talk to you about just the overall lessons that you need to know about making or being sued. Being sued does not automatically make you guilty of anything. It is not a judgment. Someone has a grief with you, and the court system is there to negotiate between you. Look at it as that. Fancy negotiation, expensive negotiation. But don't feel like that you have to take a plea deal, or, that's criminal, but don't feel like you have to take a settlement if you are legitimately in the wrong, okay? Or if people just aren't playing fairly or nicely. It's important that you get justice, but remember, most cases settle. In fact, 80 to 90%, probably even higher than that, actually settle. So more likely than not, you're going to settle. And I don't mean that to say that you have to settle. I just mean that it's a good chance you're going to settle for that reason. That's just the reality that we live in, is that it's too expensive to go to trial, and you're going to want to settle for that reason, because it's going to take time, money, so on and so forth. So keep these thoughts in mind, that as you're making these decisions, as you potentially are sued, obviously the best option is to never be sued. That's always your best. And that's what I try to counsel my clients, is making good decisions and not letting your decisions harm other people is the best strategy that I can tell you towards not getting sued and really preserving yourself and your entity that money. But again, keep a savings, make sure you're doing what's right by your clients, and consult an attorney at your earliest convenience. If you've gotten value out of this video, don't forget to hit subscribe and like. We go live Monday through Friday, except for holidays, at 11 a.m. I look forward to helping you then, and hope you have a great week. Talk to you later. Bye.